All right, today we are diving headfirst into one of philosophy's most mind-bending puzzles. It's a thought experiment that really makes you question everything you think you know about, well, knowing things, and even consciousness itself. And it all comes down to this one simple but really profound question. No, really, pause and think about that for a second. Imagine you knew, really knew, every single scientific detail about the color red. You know its exact wavelength, you know how it hits the retina, you know the precise chain of neural firings it causes in the brain. You have all the data. But you've never actually seen it. Could you say you truly know what red is? Okay, let's get into what this is all about. So, the philosophical idea that's really on trial here is something called physicalism. Now, what's that? Well, it's basically the belief that everything, and I mean everything, from the farthest star down to your thoughts and feelings, is purely physical. It can all be explained by matter, energy, and the laws of physics. So, no ghost in the machine, right? Your brain is just an incredibly complex biological computer. But is that really the whole story? So, back in the 80s, a philosopher named Frank Jackson came up with this whole thing because he just felt that physicalism, even if you had all the physical facts, was, well, missing something really important. As he put it, you could describe all the physics of pain, but that won't tell you about the hurtfulness of it. It doesn't explain the itchiness of an itch or that unique experience of tasting a lemon. It just completely misses what things actually feel like. And to really drive this point home, Jackson came up with this brilliant and now super famous thought experiment. It's called Mary's Room. So let's open the case file. Okay, so here's the setup. We've got this character named Mary, and Mary is a genius neuroscientist. But here's the catch. She has lived her entire life locked away in a totally black and white room. Everything she learns about the outside world comes through a black and white TV monitor and black and white books. Despite this, she becomes the world's leading expert on the science of vision. She knows every single physical fact there is to know about how we see color. She knows the physics, the biology, the neurology, literally everything science could ever tell you about what happens in someone's brain when they see the color red. All right, so here comes the big moment, the crucial question. One day, someone opens the door to her room. Mary steps out into the world for the very first time and sees a ripe red tomato. Now remember, she knows everything physical there is to know about seeing red. So the question is, in that instant, does she learn anything new? The gut reaction for pretty much everyone is, yeah, of course she does. She learns what it's like to actually see the color red. And that right there is the whole punchline of the argument. Think about it. If she learns something new, that means her knowledge inside the room, all that purely physical information, was incomplete. It means there was a fact about the world she didn't know, the actual experience of seeing red. And if that's true, it means there's more to reality than just physical facts. And if that's true, well, then physicalism has to be false. Boom. So, this something new that Mary learns has a special name in philosophy. It's called qualia. It's a fancy word for a simple idea, the subjective, personal quality of an experience. You know, the actual redness of red, the stinging of jealousy, the sharp taste of a lemon. Jackson's whole point is that these things, these qualia, are real, and you just can't boil them down to a bunch of physical data. Okay, just a quick clarification here, because this is important, because Jackson wasn't trying to solve the giant mystery of, what it's like to be a bat or something. His point is actually a lot more specific. The really crucial thing is that Mary learned something new about what's going on in other people's heads. For the first time, she finally understands a part of their experience that all her scientific textbooks just couldn't capture. Now, you can probably guess that an argument this huge didn't just go unchallenged. Oh no, philosophers came out in force to push back. So, let's start the interrogation. Here's the case against Mary. Okay, objection number 1. This one comes from folks like the philosopher Patricia Churchland. The core idea is that the whole Mary's Room argument makes a mistake by mixing up different types of knowledge. They'd say Mary doesn't learn a new fact, she just learns an old fact in a totally new way. So this whole objection really comes down to a critical difference. See, inside the room, Mary had what you call knowledge by description. She knew all the facts about red. But when she walks out, she gets knowledge by acquaintance. She becomes directly familiar with red. So physicalists argue that these are just two different ways of getting at the very same physical reality. She didn't learn some new non-physical thing. She just got to know an old physical fact through a new channel, her own eyes. All right, on to objection number 2. This one, which is famously associated with the philosopher David Lewis, takes a completely different angle. The argument here is that what Mary gets when she leaves the room isn't new information or a new fact, not at all. It's a new ability. So Lewis makes this great distinction between knowing that and knowing how. Knowing that is all about facts, like knowing that a tomato is red. Knowing how is about skills, like knowing how to ride a bike. In this view, Mary had all the knowing that in the world while she was in the room. She knew every fact, but what she gained outside was knowing how. She gained the ability to imagine red, to remember it, to recognize it when she sees it. It's a new skill set, a kind of know-how, not a new piece of factual information. Okay, our third objection is a little trickier, but it's a really clever one put forward by philosophers like Michael Tai. It's sometimes called the new knowledge/old fact view. And the basic idea is this. Mary does gain new knowledge, but it's knowledge of a fact she already knew. It's just presented to her in a completely new package. Let's break it down. So, step 1. Inside the room, Mary knows a certain physical fact about seeing red. Let's just call it fact P. She knows it through the language of physics and neuroscience. Step 2. When she actually sees red, her brain forms a new kind of concept, a phenomenal concept, based on the raw experience. Now here's the crucial third step. This new experience-based concept still points to the very same physical fact, fact P. The analogy they use is perfect. Think about water. You can know the fact that water is H2O. That's one way. Or you can know the feeling of water quenching your thirst. These are two totally different ways of grasping the exact same underlying fact. So, after all that, the arguments, the counter-arguments, what's the verdict? Where do we land? Well, the fact that brilliant people are still fiercely debating this decades later should tell you something. There is no easy answer. This isn't just some weird abstract puzzle for philosophers. It really cuts to the very core of some of the biggest questions we can ask. And this is why it matters so much. This whole puzzle forces us to ask about the limits of science itself. Can a purely objective, third-person scientific description of our brains ever truly capture what it's like to be us, our rich, subjective, first-person experience? The answer to that has huge implications. I'm talking about things like artificial intelligence. Can we ever build a machine that actually feels or experiences the world? And it even questions our most basic understanding of what it means to be a conscious human being. Is there a ghost in the machine after all? And that really brings it all back to you. What do you think? Is your mind the whole colorful, messy, beautiful experience of your inner life? Is it something more than just your brain? Is that rich tapestry of a sunset, the taste of your morning coffee, the feeling of pure joy? Is it all something more than just neurons firing? That's the question at the heart of Mary's room, and it's why this puzzle is so powerful. So what do you think?